Revenge of hell, the coming of wrath. The first sign was not fire, nor screaming skies, but silence. A deep, suffocating silence that pressed itself into the bones of the world, as though creation itself were holding its breath. In the ruins of an abandoned cathedral, Elias knelt alone. Dust coated the cracked marble floor like gray snow, and the shattered stained glass above him filtered moonlight into fractured colors that bled across the walls. Once, this place had been a sanctuary. Now it was a wound in the earth, one of many where the veil between worlds had thinned to a trembling membrane. Elias felt it before he heard it, a low vibration beneath his ribs, a distant drumbeat echoing from somewhere far below. Hell was stirring. He rose slowly, his joints aching with the weight of memories he had tried to bury, battles fought in forgotten wars, names of gods he had sworn never to speak again. He was not chosen. He had never been chosen. That, he knew, was the cruelty of it. Wrath did not rise to meet heroes. It hunted the unwilling. Across the land, the gates began to open. They did not burst forth in grand displays of flame, but bled into existence, cracks in the air itself, splitting open like festering scars. From them seeped heat that smelled of iron and old sins, and whispers that crawled into the minds of the living, awakening ancient hungers. Cities rotted overnight. Families turned on one another with eyes glowing red, their veins pulsing like molten wire beneath their skin. At the center of it all rose Malrath, the vicar of wrath. He emerged from the deepest pit as a thing shaped by fury rather than flesh. His body was forged from blackened bone and living fire, crowned with horns etched in runes older than language. Where his feet touched the earth, stone cracked and rivers boiled. His voice was thunder wrapped in laughter, each word a promise of suffering fulfilled. Hell had sent him not to conquer, but to punish. Malrath remembered every broken vow humanity had ever made, every prayer whispered and abandoned, every god betrayed in the name of comfort. He fed on that collective guilt, growing stronger with each act of violence done in fear of him. Wrath, Elias realized, was not coming from hell alone. It was being summoned from within humanity itself. Elias fled the cathedral as the sky darkened, clouds coiling like bruises overhead. Lightning split the heavens, not white but crimson, illuminating the silhouettes of creatures crawling from the open wounds in reality. Demons stalked the streets openly now, wearing the shapes of humanity's nightmares, angels with burned wings, children with hollow eyes, kings crowned in chains. He found refuge in a scorched village at the edge of the old world, where a handful of survivors huddled around dying fires. They looked at him with a mixture of hope and suspicion, as if salvation itself had grown fangs. "You're marked," an old woman said, her voice thin as ash. "Hell knows your name." She was right. Elias could feel it. The pull, the heat behind his eyes, the familiar ache of power he had sworn never to use again. Long ago, he had been something else, a weapon forged in divine wars, shaped to face monsters that no longer had names. He had walked away when the cost became too great, when saving the world began to feel indistinguishable from damning it. But Malrith remembered him. The demon sought Elias, not because he was strong, but because he was fractured. Wrath loved nothing more than a soul already cracked. The final confrontation came at the gates themselves, where the earth had split wide enough to reveal hell's vast furnace below. The air screamed, literally screamed, as if reality were being torn apart, molecule by molecule. Rivers of fire poured upward, and chained towers rose from the abyss like grasping hands. Malrith awaited him, towering against the bleeding sky. "You were made for this," the demon thundered. Wrath recognizes its own. Their battle was not one of swords alone, but of memories and will. Malrith hurled visions at Elias, every failure, every life lost because he hesitated, every moment he chose mercy when annihilation would have been easier. Each memory struck like a blade, carving doubt deeper into his soul. Wrath fed on regret. Elias fell to one knee, blood steaming on scorched stone. He understood then the truth that hell had always known. Wrath could not be defeated by force. It could only be denied. He rose not in anger, but in grief. Drawing on the last remnants of forbidden power, Elias did not strike Malrith. Instead, he opened himself fully to every sin he carried, every failure he had fled from. He'd let the weight of them anchor him to the living world, grounding him in responsibility rather than rage. Wrath howled. Malrith shrieked as the gates began to collapse, starved of the fury they required to remain open. Fire turned to ash. Chains rusted and snapped. The demon clawed at Elias, trying to drag him down, but found nothing left to grip. No hatred, no desire for vengeance, only resolve. When the gates finally sealed, the land went silent once more. Elias lay at the edge of the world, his body broken, his soul scorched clean. The sky lightened slowly, as though dawn itself were cautious, uncertain it was welcome. Wrath had been beaten back, not destroyed, but delayed. As Elias closed his eyes, he knew the truth would follow him into whatever came next. Hell would rise again. It always did. Wrath was patient, and next time it would remember his name.